What is up, guys? So today I'm going to explain the microchip and what it's for. So you pull out a microchip and pretty much here you put in the stuff that you would want to sort of program, have your game or animation. It's pretty much what's setting up the program. So coding and programming, what is that? Well, coding, as for the definition on the internet, is the process of using programming language to get a computer to behave the way you want. Every line of code tells the computer to do something. So I came from Game Maker, which is why I know a lot about this stuff. A lot of this stuff is actually in Game Maker with different terms. So persist would be relative. That's what that would be. So in the script or code of GameMaker, I would be typing out relative instead of persist and dream, and a variable is pretty much a number. So you can kind of get a representation of what I'm talking about here by going over here to laser scope, and laser scope will give you one of the actual terms you can use in coding. Now coding is different from programming. You're definitely not coding in dreams because you would need lines of script. Just look at command prompt on your computer and you'll sort of get an idea of what I'm talking about. And pretty much a raycast is one of the graphical terms. There's different types of terms. If you learned what all these terms actually are for the program or the like, let's say you're using GameMaker or Unity, it's different. It can be different throughout whichever game making software you're using. It can be different. But if you learned what these things actually are within that language, then you could transition over to a different type of mechanism to create a game. A microchip is just a timeline in which you can kind of have your thing tell your thing what to do and have your program do what you want it to do. And that's what a microchip is. You can also plug the microchip into a object, giving what is ever inside of the microchip the object those properties. So that is why we have a microchip for the puppet. Whenever we scope in, the program tells the puppet to do these things. A controller sensor, all that stuff, left right movements, and this is the Z, X, Y axis. Now this is in Game Maker also, except you have to type it in with numbers. But as you can see, you could do that here too if you wanted to. A lot of the things you can still do here. The XYZ axis, you can tell it where to move with the mover instead of using the control sensor. This will be how you would do it in Game Maker, in all honesty. Game Maker uses drag and drop, just like Dreams. It uses drag and drop just like Dreams, but it also has script and code. In Game Maker, you can do both. Now in the future, if they ever make it to where you can use script in Dreams or type out your stuff, then you could type out code in Dreams. I'm not sure if they would ever do that though, as it would make things, or it could scare people away, but you could effectively do that in Game Maker and of course Unity and other things. If you learn the right terms, you can transition over, as I said. Sometimes you don't need a microchip exactly to keep things organized. That's what microchips are pretty much for. You can just pretty much take it out and not put the thing inside of the microchip and just connect it to the object if it has this kind of setting. You can put things inside of microchips like nodes. Nodes will pretty much make an access port or a output port to where the microchip can then, my phone's ringing, can then send the information or signal to something else. So I'm going to put this controller on remote control. And as you can see, the node is now lighting up, ready to send the signal to something else. You could send it to another microchip, or you can send it to something outside, like this. And that's why it lights up, because it's sending the signal. Right here, you can actually change the type of thing also. You can change it to output, input, And do this right here. It shows when it's wired, and you can click on these to keep things organized. An exclusive gate pretty much does the same thing. You can look at my exclusive gate tutorial if you want to. Again, this is how you program in Dreams for specific things. That's what microchips are for keeping things organized. Thank you guys so much for watching. Use your microchips for as much as you want to and when you can. You don't always have to use a microchip. In fact, to make a game, you don't even have to use a microchip. Some things it kind of helps to use a microchip to like hit your impact sensor. All the green pretty much is sensing. All the yellow is pretty much math. This is just how I look at it. All the purple or pink, however you're seeing it, is pretty much moving or creating, which is emitting from a source like a bullet, creating a bullet, or destroying everything, or health, or displaying a health bar or text, or rumbling your controller and gyroscope and stuff like that. Follower, make the thing follow. You don't need the follower to make things follow, but it does help for specific things. You can also make things follow. If you have a puppet, you can make it follow by pressing L1 and square on it. Right here, these settings right here. So yes, I have made games and other programs. It's been a while though, in all honesty. So there's other things you can do, such as change the gravity. Right here you have your global settings. Gravity was a thing that you could do in Game Maker. I'm happy that you can easily change it like this and this. With Game Maker it was pretty easy too, just drag and drop. Pretty much with Game Maker, it's a lot like this, except you have objects, and this is an object, and then you have sprites. Then I think you had something else. Then you had rooms. Rooms are pretty much where the doorways would go. So, you know. And pretty much the gravity setting, where are we at? Right here. Was pretty much doing the same thing as this. Except with Game Maker, there was like a lot of like, you really had to go online and look up the source code to how to do things, which is essentially the same as doing this. And then just looking up what you need to look up for logic. It's essentially the same as doing that, but there's not like a lot of things. It can get really confusing without an explanation, without a verbal explanation, just looking up logic, you know what I'm saying, within Dreams, because there's no like tutorial for it. It's just, you know, there. And it's essentially some pretty simple stuff once you get all the terms down. I like looking at it as, you know, learning driver signals. That's pretty much what you're doing with Dreams. And once you learn the driver signals, you could like transition over to something else if you wanted to, if you learn the proper language. And yeah, Dreams is pretty much paving the way. I'm not sure if it's going to be that thing that makes things easier. So what I mean is, we're seeing a lot of things starting to automate jobs, and that's a part of the human experience, is making people's lives easier. And that's what Dreams is the start of. I'm not sure if it's going to be that thing, but it's definitely making game making easy to where you can learn to animate. You're not an animator. Learned a 3D model. I saw in another video that 3D modeling was the same as this, and I've used AutoCAD, which is pretty much drafting within a program, but you can also make, you know, models, 3D models. Drafting is pretty much building stuff for houses. You got your top view, your side views, your stuff like this. This would be a top view. And then you would draw it out on paper. Used to, you had to draw it out on paper, staircases, and there would be terms and stuff for that too. But with AutoCAD, it was pretty much a 3D modeling program. I didn't know it at the time, but it's pretty much what it was. Or you could use Maya Studio. I've looked up a lot of things, being interested in game development. So you can also make music and dreams and all sorts of stuff. A microchip can hold all that information and apply it to other things, or keep things organized as you want to. You can even change the icon of a said microchip to show people what kind of microchip it is. If it's a gameplay microchip, you would use that. And the reason that is important is if you are putting logic onto the Dreamverse, you want people to be able to understand what this does and what it's for, which is why we have logic like a value slider. Which is also why we have logic like. And a lot of people aren't using this for their assets, but this is what this is. This allows you to stamp your asset in place to where it's not hovering somewhere in the scene whenever somebody looks up your sculpture, and it's not like on the imp, it's somewhere in the space of the scene. This is the reason why. It's because they don't have the auto guide inside of it. Then you have things like score. This was present in GameMaker 2, I do believe. It's been a while since I used GameMaker, I'm not going to lie to you. But doorways was definitely just, rooms in GameMaker. I'm not sure if there's a checkpoint. I think you had to pretty much create your own checkpoint with variables within, if the variable is equal to 1, then the character would start here instead of somewhere all the way over there, or you'd have to make it to where the object stays relative to where it ended within the position of that level. And I think that's how it was one of those ways that we did it in GameMaker. In GameMaker, I made RPGs and stuff like that. Again, which is why I knew about what a collision event was. It's called a collision event in GameMaker, but collision, collidable, have that on, have the proper labels, what it collides with, all that stuff. And then here was your hitbox. I think it was a mask in GameMaker. I'm not sure. Kind of forgot. Then I just had to figure out what icon pretty much represented that. And one of them, I think there's a few, but the main one was the impact sensor. Collides with, senses the impacts. And then it was relative to that. So yeah, you're a game maker. Don't doubt yourself or anything. Not professional, but it's a start. Here we are. And I hope you guys stay motivated for dreams. Don't doubt your ideas, and don't, keep yourself motivated, and don't stay in the dark with your concepts. Never limit what you are if you want more aspects. If you learn this, you can learn other things most likely. Just don't doubt yourself, and you should be good. And I appreciate the Dreams community. I've learned a lot of things from the Dreams community also. A lot of this stuff I had to learn on my own. Like, again, guys, we were pioneering a lot of this stuff. So you can thank us for being able to understand it. Don't forget to subscribe to each and every one of us that create tutorials, because without us, you might not have had a start in Dreams. And I hope everybody has a better understanding because of it. Thank you guys so much for your time, and peace out.